This is also what it looks like to move through the quantum realm. Like this is
Yeah.
accessing different dimensions.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Orphic. My name is Alyssa. I'm an astrophysicist. I have my PhD, and I'm interested in understanding the spirituality of astrophysics, so the consciousness of the universe and how spirituality fits into the picture of astrophysics that is already painted in academia, which some of it's accurate, I think. I don't think all of it's accurate, but there's definitely some accuracy in there. And I just think that there's more to the story, there's more to the equation, and I'm using my intuition and my connection to my own inner wisdom and connection to divine source frequency, basically, to try to fill in the blanks and figure out how the universe works, incorporating spirituality. So please follow me on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics. Thanks. Hey.
Hey, I'm Mikayla with Mariposa Moonchild on Instagram. So please give me a follow there if you would like. Part of my work is to activate the healing in yourself, to activate that inner wisdom, recognize your own divinity. And in my work, I do shadow alchemy and empathic energy medicine. And just here to activate the ripple effect of healing across the planet as we move into this new paradigm.
Awesome. Okay, let's do some breathing. Let's get grounded.
Yeah, let's do a ground in. I'm gonna light my Palo Santo. Take a moment if you're able to just close your eyes. Maybe even place a hand on your heart if you feel called to. Okay, let's take a big deep breath in, breathing in that Palo Santo smoke. Filling our lungs all the way to the top. Pausing here. Opening our mouth and letting it go. Another deep breath in, breathing in that Palo Santo smoke, breathing it into the areas in your body that feel tight or constricted, breathing it in here, pausing at the top and letting it out. Letting go of anything negative, anything that feels heavy, releasing it with the breath. Take another deep breath in, filling our lungs all the way to the top. Pausing at the top. Feeling your heart beating in your chest. The blood running through your veins. And when you're ready, let go, release. Anything and everything that's ready to go and that does not belong to you, releasing it with the breath. Now imagine silver roots grounding down out of your root chakra and just spiraling into Mother Earth, deeper and deeper, just really grounding in your body, grounding in your energy into Mother Gaia, feeling safe and held here. Feel your hands or your feet touching her soil, touching her back. And just take a moment to feel into how it feels to be held, to feel safe, feel grounded and stable here. And when you're ready, return to this space.
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
Well, I'm pretty tired and a little hungry,
Mm-hmm.
but that's okay. I went to my second mushroom ceremony on Friday night.
Girls on a roll.
Yeah, I'm on a roll. So my body and spirit is currently in processing and integration
Mm-hmm.
mode.
Yeah.
So we're being gentle
Yeah, for
and
sure.
just
Still integrating.
flowing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Still integrating. I'll be probably integrating for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But this is really because, the ripple effects. That's like, it's the ripple effect, when you drop that drop into the water or whatever it is, and it begins to ripple, but then further and further out, the ripples actually get bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So across the months and the weeks and the months and the years, those ripples just get bigger and bigger, affecting my life and everyone else who's connected to me,
Yep.
probably anyone who's listening to the podcast, because
Yeah.
I don't think it can't not affect anyone that I'm connected to or is connected to my energy or is like in my field,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
Um the quantum field,
Yeah.
energy healing baby, and with the people that are like directly in my life. That also. Anyways, yeah, I'm integrating.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Um, I would say I'm in better spirits than I was in the last episode. Last two episodes, definitely in a bit of a overwhelmed state, but I feel like the fall energy is setting in and I'm feeling a positive stream. I feel like I'm going onwards and upwards, and yeah, I think I had a realization like in these last few days just how much I need to start really like focusing on something specific and applying myself to something and challenging myself a little bit more throughout the days. And yeah, I actually I was just telling Mikayla before we started that I have some stuff still to finish for my thesis work, and I was pulling up reading some papers today and doing kind of like academia things today, and I actually realized like how much I kind of missed it in a way. It's weird because it's like it's frustrating and it's annoying, but at the same time that is a whole part of it's like I forget that is a whole part of my brain that does have function. And actually I'm like, oh yeah, I did get a PhD. Like I know this, like
Mhm.
there's I don't know, this year, most of this year I wasn't really doing like hardcore academia things, or at least going back deep into like research things or reading new papers. The thing, there's so many new papers out right now because of James Webb Space Telescope, the new telescope that launched in 2022. But everyone, all the people that like had access to this early data, but it's exciting because there's like a lot of new data and everything, but I feel like I'm a little behind on the papers. But I feel like this little nerdy side is coming out of me. It must be my gray side. It's coming out of me that's like, ooh, you know what? After all this time of not really immersing myself in this stuff, I'm like, you know what? I could read all these James Webb papers and see like what all the new things that are being discovered. So I feel like I'm leaning into that personally. Like I'm gonna try to make this fall about um cricket in the basement. I'm gonna I'm going to I'm gonna become the student again. I'm gonna become the student again and just relearn and go back into some of that stuff. And I think it'll be good for me because I was saying it's like sometimes the pendulum swings a lot, and I'm either doing a lot of spiritual stuff, and then I want to start bringing it back more into the astrophysics. And I also know that especially since my channel has opened up so much, and after taking that psychic light course, and I want to kind of see like what else, like now that I feel like I trust myself more spiritually and stuff like that. When I lean back into the academia stuff, like what else comes to me? Like, I don't know. I might spend days doing things with research and all this stuff. And I don't know, I'm in a different stage of my awakening now, and we're always in a different stage every day. But I'm excited to see what else comes of that. And I feel like I need to lean back more into the academia stuff. So That's where I'm at, but feeling hopeful, and I feel
Nice.
better after last week's episodes. And I think I didn't realize how much hadn't I think I didn't realize how much I needed to like talk all that stuff out. I really hadn't been avoiding talking it out
Yep.
because
Yep.
it was just the tornado of of my environment, and it was just like no time for feelings, and it was just really good to like have a chance to like really get it out, and fully my feelings and everything too. And there's been a lot of positive feedback on that, and a lot of people really relate, and I had such a vulnerability hangover after that, like, oh my god, how did I sound? Like a little bit of, yeah, I got a little vulnerability hangover, but then I felt great getting some nice messages. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
I mean, if there's one thing that I've learned from journeying with the mushrooms so far, it's that you can't avoid your emotions
Yeah.
or your issues or your problems or whatever. And you can try to run away from them, but like you're only prolonging your suffering. And it's like back to that story about the cow and the buffalo, and how the
Mhm.
cows run away from the buffalo, and then they just prolong their time in this, or the cows run away from the storm, not the buffalo.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
they run away from buffaloes too, I don't know. The cows run away from the storm, and they only prolong their suffering because the storm just follows them,
Yeah.
and they just prolong their time in the storm, but they turn away from it in fear because they're so afraid of it. And when the buffalo see the storm, they go head on to it, and they spend less time in the storm, and they just face it. And I had to take that with me in my mushroom ceremony again, in that reminder. But um yeah, even with your situation, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're all of us, we all deal with this. We have these emotions that come up, or these feelings, and we always have the choice, but we choose to avoid and avoid and avoid. And it's only a matter of time before they come back around, or they get so loud that we can't avoid them anymore. So when our emotions come up or challenges come up, it's an opportunity, an invitation to go in deeper and meet yourself. And
Mhm.
through that is where I feel you really begin to unlock that deeper connection with self, that deeper trust, and you move through those things that are stuck or feel like blocks in your energy. Cuz like the human experience is, we're here to feel the whole range of it, not just like the high frequency love and light feelings, but the anger and the despair and whatever. Like we're here to feel.
Mhm.
We're here to feel. So it when your emotions come up, it's an invitation to, am I willing to sit with this and feel into what it's really trying to tell me? Because what's really happening is it's trying to show you a part of yourself that is wanting to come up and be moved through.
Yeah.
Your body or your spirit is giving you an opportunity to move through something. Um, but if we continue to ignore or avoid, we really push that all down. And you had a really beautiful session where you moved through a lot of stuff, and we went into the subconscious too. Because a lot of this stuff is subconscious, so it takes the willingness to feel into the subconscious. But that session was for me as well, because there was also stuff that I was moving through or feeling overwhelmed with. The planets were also
Mhm.
given us some intense energy at that
Yeah.
time. Like, I know Mercury has now gone direct. So now
Yeah.
I think there's maybe 5 planets in retrograde and not
Right.
6. And before that, Venus was retrograde and there were 7 planets in retrograde. So
Yeah.
we've been through some intense energy. But yeah, I was going through my own process of stuff too. And I realized that I was avoiding my own fear because I was worried that I had this belief that if I feel my fear or face my fear, then I'm like, or go into my fear, that like I'm attaching to it, and I'm going to just like project that into
Mhm.
my reality. And like, I think there's a portion of that that can be true if you like identify yourself in it too much and you don't let it go. But my fear was asking to be seen and felt, and for me to really go into it and feel it and go and face it. And with my work around like shadow alchemy and shadow work, um, yeah, it was an invitation to go into my own shadow and my own fear and face it. And it's pretty interesting how when you accept that invitation, how quickly you can really just like move things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think it brought up like a lot of forgiveness. I feel like so much always comes back to forgiveness in a lot of ways, like forgiving yourself and stuff. And I think that was another thing that was highlighted for me, just deeper layers of forgiveness and just another layer of letting go of expectations. And a lot of what I talked about on that episode was this expectation of what it was supposed to be, and just, but also it was so much of just giving myself the space to like grieve that, because it was okay that I had that expectation and that I'm sad that it didn't go that way, and that because it was like so much of what I was talking about was that I was like, so that I was still actively in the process of coming to terms with the fact that it didn't go that way, and just letting myself like sit in that for a little bit. And yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. There's something I was going to say there, but then I was listening to you and I forgot what it was. So,
Well, if it comes back. But yeah, so go check out those episodes if you haven't yet. And yeah.
yeah.
Today we're
Okay.
talking about more mushroom journeying, right? And yeah, so describe how did the second ceremony come about again? It was with
I basically was just invited.
mhm,
Like, I think an email went out to probably everyone that was on the email list for previous mushroom ceremonies or whoever was on that particular email list. And it was also the last one that was going to be facilitated this year.
mm,
I think besides that, there may be monthly, but I don't actually know. But I knew it was going to be the last one that was facilitated this year because Jay is going to go down to the States and tour with the Kuntanawa tribe. But yeah, and I talked about in the last episode, I was feeling the call to dive in deeper with the plants, with the plant medicine. And it came up and right away I knew I was supposed to go to it.
mhm,
So like I think I messaged her back immediately that day and said, "Yep, I'm in." And it was an interesting process for me after that because I knew right away and I followed the intuitive hit and I said, "Yep." Um, but then all like kind of the resistance and the thoughts came up like you're kind of crazy. Like
yeah,
you're doing it like it was 3 weeks before. And I'm like, this is because they're very profound experiences and
yeah,
can be intense and they open up a lot. And since the last one, I had still been in intense integration mode. Like from the first one, my processing and integration after, it felt like my body was being like fucking ripped apart. Um,
yeah,
I'm not saying that to scare anyone, but it was just like it felt like my cells were reconfiguring. It felt like my spirit and my body was just being like squeezed and
wow,
pulled and like shredded open. And it was like, it was a lot. And I wasn't like in a bad place. I actually felt quite good. Like, I guess, like maybe spiritually, like I was like excited for the future, but I was also
mhm,
just like, it felt like so much like pressure in the body too that like my body just felt like uncomfortable.
mhm,
And then these feelings come up of like, why are you doing this again already? Like, are you
mhm,
like a little bit crazy to like
yeah,
be going back to this already?
yeah,
Like, I don't think like most people, I don't think do these like back to
right,
back like all the time, or maybe you can, or like even weird feelings came up of like, oh, are you like chasing something that you shouldn't be chasing, or just like a
mhm,
lot of resistance and those like thoughts came up, especially leading up to it. Like the couple days before, I was like really questioning if
mhm,
I wanted to go, even though I know I was going to. But when we even got, like, we had an email that was sent out to all of us that said it's quite normal for resistance to come up in the body and in the mind right before. It's like, it's your subconscious's way of trying to keep you safe and in your
yeah,
comfort zone and for you not to change because that's the thing. And we talk about this like with Lucia at the ranch or with whatever, about your body knows what's going to happen before you do. Your body
Yeah.
can anticipate the change and feel the change.
Yeah.
So it's just your body. So it's pretty normal to come up, but then like it's like the day of, and I'm like, man, it'd be pretty nice to like not go to this and just like stay home and watch a movie and be all like cozy and just like chill. But alas, I went. But yeah, and then even when I get there, like I'm getting my bed set up and my area set up, and I'm just like kind of questioning myself too. I'm like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Like,
And
why am I
what
here?
was your answer? Or what also, like, I was gonna say, like, what would or what was your response to yourself, or what would you say to maybe an external voice or question about if you are doing it to like chase something or to like, you know?
Um, my
Or
feeling was I knew that was like my ego
mm-hmm.
or like a limiting belief that was trying to like
Yeah.
keep me small or place that on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have the awareness of those thoughts, but they were like coming through because the bottom line is it came down to I went to this again because I felt like I was supposed to. I felt like I was meant to, and I
Mm-hmm.
leaned into the call. And it wasn't necessarily the easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was a beautiful, beautiful, profound experience, just like the first time, but it can be an intense experience. And that's why
Yeah.
people do these ceremonies, and they are so profound because it's really so possible to have life-changing experiences. And I wouldn't even say possible. I would say more often than not, that is the case. But again, this is my experience. So it's
Yeah.
like always dependent on someone's experience, and I can't speak to what someone's experience is going to be. Um, but they are meant to like the medicine, it's a healing experience in whatever type of healing that you need. And the medicine is so intuitive, and it's its own consciousness. Like the mushrooms are its own consciousness. Like I've connected with just the mushrooms before, and I've talked about that. They're here, they're a medicine, they're a plant medicine, and they're here to help. They're here to co-create with the human consciousness, and so much can be unlocked through that. There's like unlimited potential. So it's really quite amazing. I've thought about this with the plants too, because I've connected with some other plants, and I'm like, what a wild journey it would be to be that spirit that chooses to be of that medicine, and like what that lifetime
Whoa.
would be like. I
That
was
would
thinking
be
about that
cool.
earlier with like Mother Aya, because it's like that is going to be a continuation of that spirit and that energy for quite a long time. And that spirit or that soul has chosen to, bring that consciousness to Mother Earth or to our realm right now. I know, isn't that crazy?
I never really thought about that much. Like the incarnation of the spirit of cannabis, the incarnation of mushrooms or Aya. Huh.
Yeah. Because all of these plants have a spirit just like we do, right?
Yeah, they do. Huh. Cool.
And yeah, I know it's super cool. But anyways, the mushrooms, like it's very clear. They want to co-create with our consciousness to help us heal, to help us quantum heal in this time and to move through these times. So these healings are profound and powerful, and they're accelerated.
Yeah,
And
accelerated, I would say, is probably the word because it's
they're
a lot. A
accelerated in
lot
the matter of
happens.
like 6 hours or whatever it is from when you take them and when you do your journey through.
Yeah.
Um, so what was I saying before that?
Um,
Just I
spirit of the
had, yeah,
mushroom.
I had the resistance coming up where I
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
sure, and you had asked me kind
yeah.
of
Like
about, so I
how?
knew that I knew that I was meant to be there, that the plants were calling me, and I was meant to dive back in again. But as we started, I was like, why am I here? Because then I'm like almost like already comparing my last experience before it's even began to this one. Cause my last one was just so, so beautiful and profound. And we were in this beautiful, womb cocoon, and
Yeah.
like it was that Mongolian yurt, and the artwork was so beautiful in there. And it
Mhm.
was just like, I feel like I was complete. Like I got everything that I could have possibly needed
Yeah.
from that. Like what could possibly be next? Like what
Mhm.
else?
And there was.
And then you feel the anxiety too of like, what if this and what if this and oh God. Because
Mhm.
like the potential of like what the mushrooms can bring up for you too. And it was interesting because this was in a different location. It wasn't all women, it was a co-ed. And this one was in an old church. So it was a church that had been remade into a home, but it had been in an old church before. And then we were in the basement of the church. So the aesthetic and the environment was very different from being up
Yeah.
in the forest in like the womb cocoon.
Yeah. That is pretty different.
Very different. And with this one too, we were asked like not to go outside. We could if we like really, really needed to with like someone, but like in the last one, we were able to go out on the deck and like look at the stars and the trees
Mhm.
and be in the forest. And now we were a little bit like more contained to somewhere like inside. And I
Mhm.
couldn't help but finding myself to kind of start like comparing like, oh, how could this possibly be better or top that like last
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah.
And boy, did I again not know what I was in for.
Classic.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Um, and like the church was still really cool. It just had its own flavor. It was just different, right?
Yeah.
Just like
Mhm.
apples and oranges, just different. Um, but as I began to journey, it was very clear how the first ceremony had prepared me for this moment and for my
Mhm.
second ceremony, and how everything was divinely timed and divinely orchestrated to welcome me into this moment.
Mm.
And this ceremony was specifically the theme was that was set was connecting to our own divinity. And boy, did I let my own divinity come through in a way that's never been expressed through me ever before. And it broke me open, it cracked me open. I expanded, my channel was opened. It was the most profound thing I have ever experienced. And I know I said this last time, guys.
Oh
The
shit.
most profound thing I have ever experienced to feel my divinity flow through me.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was wild. And not better than my last experience. They were just different. They had different purposes. They're opening up different things. Like that last one was preparing me for this. It was meant to be that way.
I'm just fixated on the term flow through you because that is what it is, right? It's because, well, yeah, you had this profound experience where you really, it wasn't just that, you literally just said it. You said you felt it flow through you, and it's just like that's what it is. It's there is always, we're always flowing. There's always there's literally always something flowing through us, and it's
If you allow it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because that was kind of part of my thing is I realized that I
yeah.
actually had a lot of blocks, like
Mhm.
blocking my channel or blocking the energy flow,
Mhm.
specifically in my sacral and like
Yeah.
in my gut. So for me, there was a fear there that was sitting there that was blocking this flow, which kind of pertained to maybe some of the areas that I felt like I was struggling or forcing because like it wasn't flowing through me in the way that I would like it to. So to have that completely just like opened up, just have that flow open up was, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
it's something again that I feel like it's just like, I remember when I first texted you after the first one, I was like, wow, crazy, no
Mhm.
words. And that's like just how I felt again. It's just like,
Yeah.
how do you explain experiences like this? And you really can't. Like,
Yeah.
as much as I will try to, the pieces that are meant to be talked about anyways, it will never be the same as experience it yourself. And every single person had their own individual experience through their own perspective and their own lens, and what was meant to come up through them for that,
Mhm.
right? Like because that's the thing, the medicine co-creates with your individual consciousness, and it knows exactly what you need at exactly the right time. And then
Mhm.
you choose to journey with that however you want. You choose to either be the cow and run away and prolong it, or you choose to be the buffalo.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really love that story about the cow and the buffalo because it's just so applicable to
Yeah.
this spiritual journey and this like inner healing and inner development, self-development journey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
yeah. So the night started, we had 3 beautiful space holders there again. We got the opportunity to do the hape again and sit with cacao again and the sananga again. So all of those
Mhm.
plant medicines to open us up in different ways.
Mm.
Um, a lot of it is just like cleansing and clearing of your vessel. The hape is helps with like pineal gland like opening and decalcification. So opening that up before you journey, like
Yeah.
it's all just like added to amplify or like open up or to help you to support you in really meeting the medicine very clearly. And
Mhm.
like a cow is like a heart opener.
Yeah.
And my journey with like the hape, because I've had hape before, like in my last journey and a few other times. And this time she's like, are you feeling inspired? Are you feeling? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And she's like, hold this and see if it's the right one. I'm like, yeah, it's the right one. And I knew it was gonna be zippy and it was so zesty. Like it was so like
Zesty.
I've never felt hape like that before. I was like, oh God. I like went back like, so you go up,
Zesty.
you have the hape minister to go back to my little bed area that I've set up for the night. And I'm just like spinning. Like I just felt like I was in the spinning room. Like I don't know, one of my teachers when I was really young told us about like we were really young and he's like, when you guys get drunk one day, you'll all be in the spinning room. And I remember that every time that I've ever drank too much in the past and I've been in the spinning room. And I'm sure
Oh.
most of us know exactly what I'm talking about. Like when
Yeah.
yeah, like, like it's the end of the night and now you go to
Been
like lay in
there.
your bed or like now you're kind of just like by yourself and you're like, holy fuck, like you're
Yeah,
just
just
like
like
spinning,
spinning.
like, that
Yeah.
moment that you just wish didn't happen.
Yep. Yeah, I know it.
And so I was feeling like that after the hape, like in a different way, but I
Oh.
was still feeling
Mhm.
like that. Like it was a lot. And like could just feel like my whole body, like just like
Yeah.
tingling. Um, And then I was just like transported to the jungle, which was really cool. And I was just like moving through the jungle like so fast. And like Jaguar was like running with me. So that was like
Oh.
super cool to see his presence there.
Mhm.
And that he was there to let me know that he was gonna be with me on my journey that night.
Oh, cool.
Eh, Yeah, super cool. So that's how it started. And then we had the cacao after, and I kind of got like my stomach was unsettled again. Like last time I was quite nauseous, and a beautiful energy worker, Pam, was there, and she so graciously just like pulled the nausea out of me. And I talked about that
Again?
in the last one. Just like
Wow.
pulled it out of me. It was insane. And so now
That's
I'm like
just
nauseous again,
crazy.
and I'm like, where's Pam? Like I need this to be pulled out of me now. But alas, there was no Pam.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought that you meant that there was someone there that pulled it out of you again. I
No,
missed that. Oh,
there
Pam
wasn't.
pulls it. Pam
Pam
pulls it out of you last time. Okay.
She pulled out on me last time. She was not there this
Yeah, that was
time.
cool though.
But I felt a little unsettled. I wasn't as nauseous as the first time. The first time I was like quite nauseous. This time I was a little bit more unsettled, but still like So I'm like kind of wallowing, being like, "Ugh, I wish Pam was here to pull it out of me."
Yeah.
But then I was just like, pull it out of yourself.
Oh yeah. Forgot about that. Duh.
Yeah. I was like, just pull it out of yourself. Like, come on.
Yeah. Do it.
So I was like, so I did. So I like,
Yeah.
I just felt into the energy. I just, kind of in that moment, just felt into what needed to happen. And I pulled it out of me. Honestly, I just
Yeah.
pulled it out of me and let it go. And I felt better.
Sweet.
Sweet. But just like cool. Cause even like that is just like such a little lesson of like, you can do it. Like you're capable. Like you can do it.
As
I
long
mean, it's
as
always
you
okay
have, as long as you have the belief, as long as the belief is actually there and you legitimately believe that you can pull this nausea out of you and then it can be gone, then yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. And I tried
Cool.
to have some peppermint tea and lemon water before and it didn't really do the trick. And then I was like, fuck that. I'm just going to pull this shit out of me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I can move energy with my hands. Why don't I just pull it out?
Right. Magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. And yeah. And then we just to Sananga and then went back to our bed. When you get muscle tested again for your dose, so you don't know your dose, but your body chooses and you're muscle tested for it. And then I'm laying in bed and you can start to feel it. Like your body just gets a little like, I don't know. You can just feel it coming on. Like it's a little like zippy, I guess, and I can feel the anxiety a bit. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. Cause it's just like,
can you describe again the muscle testing? Like, is that purely psychic? Is it purely intuitive, or is there any part of a physical like contact where the person that's doing it like does?
Yeah. You muscle test
physically
yourself. So
I don't know
you
what it
use
is.
your body to do it.
So what does that look like though? I don't know what you mean. Paint the picture.
I'm so surprised because like your sister does body talk.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's like
you literally have to muscle test people to body talk. Like that's how you do a session.
I don't really know what it looks like.
Well, it can look different because there's different ways to do the muscle testing. Like there's not only one way.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned some of this in linking awareness too. So there's different ways you can do it, but basically your body, you use whatever piece of the body you're using for the muscle test. A lot of the time, like your hands or your arm. Have you heard of like the sway test before?
I've heard of the sway test. It's like you have to stand in a certain like aligned with northeast or south or something like that, and then it's like then you ask a yes or no question, and then the direction that your body sways is either yes or no, right?
So that's what it is. That's muscle testing, but you can do it on your arm or you can do it on, your arm, or people use your fingers or whatever part of your body. So you basically ask your body, like, I don't know, if you go like this, maybe you like push down your body and you're like, show me a yes, show me a no. And it'll be like a different, your body will have different resistances to both of them. And then so you feel that. But the facilitators were doing this like for us, but they would use our arm. And then, so in the last one, Pam just like did her whole like muscle testing thing. Like I didn't even realize she muscle tested me because she was pulling the nausea out of me. And she's like, okay, you're done. And I was like, oh shit, okay. But this one we held like a jar of the different doses and then we got muscle tested. Yes or no, yes or no. And we just like went through them.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
Yeah. So then your body, just either says yes or no to each of the doses.
So in this case, it was like your arm was being like pushed up and down in a way, or just like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, muscle tested for the dose. And did a nice Sananga journey. Then drank the tea again. Oh yeah, I was already to the part where like I started to feel it, started to come on, and like definitely like right away the anxiety kind of kicks in and the anxiousness, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? Kind of again, like, why are you here? Like, oh God.
Whose idea was this?
Yeah, and even just
yours.
feeling into like knowing that I would like to go sit with grandmother medicine with like the ayahuasca at some point. And like, I just had these thoughts like, well, how are you going to do that? You can't even handle a mushroom ceremony, which is crazy because I was just in a mushroom ceremony, but just all these like
Yeah.
limiting beliefs kind of just like flowing through me. And then I'm like kind of in my cocoon, with got my blankets all around me. It's like pretty dark. And then I finally kind of like peek out and I'm like, oh, the room looks very different. Everything looks fuzzy. And like, there's like bright thing, like, you know, like glowing things all around. And I was like, okay, we are going there. So a lot of it in the bit, like, so the first one, like I said, prepared me for this moment. Like the first one, I feel like I moved through so much necessary healing things that needed to come up
There
in
was a
me.
lot of healing in
Like,
the
I mean,
other
it's
one.
all really healing, but just in different ways. But these were things that were like attachments that I had to like life events or things that had happened to me or people. And it was a really huge clearing of that, of just like bam, 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 going through the people or going through the events and just like bringing love to that and just like a new perspective and moving the energy and moving through that. And so this one in the beginning, there was a lot of mental chatter. Like I was very aware of my mind, and it's like I was almost fighting, like the medicine in my mind and myself were like kind of all fighting each other because I would get taken because as the medicine hits you, you just kind of like catapulted into different scenarios or different visions or whatever. So sometimes it will take you back to certain places in your life or certain thoughts or whatever. And I found myself really trying to categorize everything. Like the thoughts in my head were just like going and like telling myself, well, I should be doing this, or I shouldn't be doing this, or this is how I should be processing this, or this is how my experience should look, or like really trying to make sense of each thing that would come up. Like, oh, this is coming up because of this, and this is coming up because of this. And it's just like, it just became so much. There was just like so much mental chatter, or like I would tell myself like something would come up and I'd be like, okay, well, you just need to feel love now, or you need to feel this way. Or it's like I was telling myself how to be or what to do, or like this is what I should do. So that was really interesting too, because I noticed that if something came up and I was like, you should feel love in this situation, there was a resistance. Like my body or my spirit didn't actually go fully into love in that situation, because it's like it was coming from a place of I'm telling myself that I need to do that, instead of like it's coming from a thinking place rather than like an actual feeling place.
You're right. Yeah. And if it's all going like so fast, then I can see that.
It does go pretty fast. And I found myself getting stuck on things. I found myself like getting stuck on things and being like, well, if my mind takes me there, my mind shouldn't move away from it. I should sit here and I should do this shadow work, and I should really like sit here and like work it out, or like I should sit here and meditate, and I should sit here and go deep into it. When I realized like I really didn't have to do that. Like, and that's what came up after. Like part of the healing was that the medicine will take you into these places to feel the emotions or to like bring it up again. But it can be as easy as just taking you to that place and letting go of the attachment and moving through. And like, it gets to be easy. Like it doesn't have to be that difficult, or I should be doing this, or I should be processing this way. Like I was telling myself a lot of, I should be processing it this way, or this is how I should be moving through my journey, which is really interesting. And I had the same, and then it was just like came through again so clearly, just like just be, you know?
Yeah.
I don't have to categorize things and make sense of them. And like, this is my body was just trying to keep me safe. Like this is how my body has kept me safe for years and years and years and years, is overthinking things and overanalyzing things and trying to make sense of things to like somehow meet my practical mind. So there was there was definitely a battle of that going
Yeah.
on in my brain in the beginning and having to work through that. And I
And then
still
it was
had,
like, the solution is like, no, it gets to be easy, though.
yeah, it does get to be easy because like I know I had this moment too of because I still did some of the like healing work and had some moments with some like different spirits and stuff like that. Um I had this moment of being transported back to what it feels like to be in a room alone crying and feeling like
Mhm.
I had absolutely no one. And I was like transported right back to that moment of just
Mm.
like heaving, crying, just in deep despair, feeling like I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to exist. Like those moments, those emotions that you really try to like push down and avoid. And I was taken to that room and I had all these thoughts of this is how I should move through this. This is how I should, whatever. Then I just like felt into it and I'm like, I just like asked her, my, I guess, inner probably teenager, maybe even young adult at this time. Um, well, and this was over a period of time, but anyways, like, what do you actually like? What do you actually need or want versus me trying to give you what I think should happen right now? Because
Mm.
there's a piece of me, myself now, that just wanted to go, there, you're fine, you're loved, see ya. Right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I really,
This is getting super meta for spirituality and for the ways that we it's like current you now knowing better, trying to impose the better on a previous version of you that there's a reason that you didn't have those coping methods then. Or, it's interesting. That's
well,
interesting.
yeah,
Anyway.
then this is also what it looks like to move through the quantum realm. Like
Yeah.
this is accessing different dimensions. Like
Yeah.
and this is also possible. You can go back to that time and
Mhm.
recreate the story or the timeline or give yourself whatever they needed in that timeline. And so I just asked her what she really needed because I had some resistance to giving myself what she really needed, which was
Mm.
also really interesting. And I feel like the thought came through of, well, you should sit with your inner child and you should this and you should this.
Mm.
Um,
Wait, what did she say that she really needed?
she just wanted to be held and sat with. She just wanted to not be
Oh.
alone.
Mhm. Mhm.
So then I brought down my walls because like I had a guard up too, almost to my own self, you know? Like
Mm.
that was
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting.
So I realized that piece of myself where I was having difficulty extending love even to myself. So like what is that? There's a deeper
Mhm.
part of me that wants to be met and fully loved.
Yeah.
And that was also something that was so interesting because um leading up to me going, Bryce and I had kind of been in some like more intense conversations, arguments, I guess. And um and we had some before I left, we had some good conversations where we had like, we'd like made up or given each other a hug and we're like
Mhm.
had moved through it, but I remember I myself made a comment about you to him like you have to choose to uh meet yourself at fully accepting yourself and fully loving yourself. Or I just had this like sentence or this statement around what does it look like to fully accept yourself and everything who you are, to fully love yourself. And it's so interesting because it's just like such an example of how you are always being reflected back to you. Like your relationships, your reality is always just a mirror, right? Because now in this
Mhm.
moment where I'm back in my bedroom and I'm realizing that there's a piece of me that has resistance to fully loving myself in every state and fully accepting myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and then it was like something for my current self to go through of like, why are you resisting to this? And like maybe feeling like I shouldn't have been crying, or I didn't deserve to be in that much despair, and like moving through that. And then I was able to get to a place of like actually being there for myself at that age, and telling her what she needed to hear. Like, it's going to be okay. You got this. And we're
Mhm.
going to rewrite your timeline from now on. Like, your timeline's different, and we're doing that now. And also, I'm always here for you. You can always call me back, and I will always come. Like, if you feel like no one else is there for you, I will always be here for you. And
Mhm.
when I feel into this more, what's really, really cool about this moment is I remember that moment when I was in my bedroom, however many years ago, and felt an absolute despair. Like, I don't want to exist anymore, and thinking like, fuck this world. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, really contemplating what it's like to not be here anymore, or to just not
Mhm.
exist. And there was a voice that came through and said, keep going, keep going. It's going to get better. It's not always going to be like this. Keep going.
Holy shit. Well, that's wow.
Yeah. And then to be in real time transported. People say time travel is not real. But to be in real time in the present moment of now, when I was on the flip side of that, when I was that voice that came through, when I was my future self that chose to come in and intervene into that moment in time, like,
Yeah.
wow.
That's some real quantum healing right there.
And that's
Some
also the,
real intersection of timelines.
yeah, and dimensions. And it's like, that's also the power we have. It's not that I can just do that. We all have the
Mhm.
power to do that,
Yeah.
and to do
Yep,
this
we
quantum
do.
healing. And it does get to be easy. It can be easy. It doesn't have to be like, if you, no matter, you have to be the buffalo, and you have to face your shadows, and you have to face the emotions that come up and want to be worked through, because they're opportunities to unlock these deeper pieces of yourself, to activate your DNA. Our healing work, our shadows, are literally, in a lot of ways, they're the antidote. They're the antidote
They
through
are.
to whatever we want, to whatever we desire, to breaking the
Yeah.
patterns. Because if
Yeah.
we just if we avoid them, or we don't look at them, that's where everything stays the same. The patterns, the cycles, they stay the same over and over. It's like nothing can change if everything remains the same. So the day you decide to face that, if it's even just the one emotion or the one thing that comes up, and take on that opportunity to move through it, you've already unlocked something and moved something, and you've shifted something in your timeline.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
it was super
So
cool.
why did you feel like did you get any deeper about, like, or was there anything more significant about why you had the resistance to comforting yourself, or kind of just maybe just general difficulty meeting ourselves? I mean, because I can understand, just in terms of like vulnerability
I
things.
think vulnerability with self, and also a resistance, I think, to maybe real intimacy,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
including self,
Yeah.
real intimacy with self.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then after that, I did have a moment of, well, should I stay here? Should I do more? And it was just like, no, like, if the mushrooms take you somewhere else, if you move into a new scene, into a new thing, like, you're good. Like, you've moved it. So I also realized I don't need to attach myself to every emotion and everything that comes up. I just get to be an observer of my experience. And that is enough to heal something. And this is what Lucia talks about too in her observer days, or just observing. And we've had some pretty good conversations around observing before too, like just
Yeah.
observing your own healing or observing your own process is enough to
Yeah.
activate the healing that needs to happen. But it's just like an
Mm-hmm.
observation and an awareness and a realization of pinpointing that thing, and then it's able to move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about like observing and like the eyes and like how I'm thinking about like the quantum physics of observation now.
Yeah, well, it is very
Um,
interesting because, like, and these are also some conversations I had with some of the space holders too, because a lot of their work or their job there in the space, like their space holding, absolutely, as well as being called to the energy work or whatever comes up, but like also like they're observing the transformation that's
yeah.
and the process that's happening in each and every one of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
A lot to observe.
Mhm. Uh, yeah, so moving through moving through more into my experience. I also thought it was interesting cuz
Mm-hmm.
I was like I realized that I was more in control of my body this time,
Mm-hmm.
which was interesting because I found out at the end that I had the exact same dose as last time, which was a relatively pretty high dose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and last time I talked about it on the podcast too, I felt pretty like incapacitated in a lot of
Yeah.
areas. Like going to the washroom was like a fucking journey, and it took like everything
Yeah.
in me to get myself up, or sometimes feeling like you're
Yeah.
crawling to do the things that you need to do to take care of
Yeah.
yourself, or like just feeling
Yeah.
incapacitated to even take care of yourself. So that was such an interesting journey. Um, and the medicine affected me a little differently in this way where I had a lot more control over my body, and I was able to stand up and go to the bathroom very easily with like no
Mm-hmm.
issues, even though it was the same
Yeah.
dose. So that's like really interesting. It felt like the last time I worked through a lot more limitations of my body.
Yeah. I was gonna say that because it was, yes, yeah. It was very directly related to that. And, but more so, I think the whole thing with the body came up so much last time because it was a lot of it had to do with asking for help. And it was like,
Yep.
so because you're working through needing to be comfortable with asking for help, you
Yeah.
had to have your body to, in a difficult situation or feeling like it can't do anything on its own so that you could ask for help.
Yeah, and that totally was a process. Or just like even in those moments, like telling myself, like I can't do this, like I can't go to the bathroom, and I can't go get water, and I can't do this, which is just a limiting belief. But then it's just like then I would just sit there and sit there. But then I'm like, okay, but I'm actually gonna pee my pants. Like I have to figure this out, and then
Yeah.
having to ask for help or accepting help or whatever it is, or even just accepting that I'm going to be seen as I am right now and feeling like incapacitated. And maybe, like, I wouldn't say maybe it was as bad as being incapacitated, but it was definitely like
Yeah.
it was a struggle in some areas to like meet basic needs as you're
Yeah. It
going
was a
through your
form of that.
process.
Yeah.
And so this time I found that I just popped up really easy and just like went to the bathroom, and it was like
Mhm.
not an issue, which was like really interesting. So I'd like worked through that because even last time I think like I was so worried about because I was worried about how I was going to. I knew the state I was in, and I had a fear come up about even getting up and going to the bathroom and like, oh, she's up, she's moving. What's this gonna look like? Is she gonna fall over? Is she gonna this? Is she gonna like that was like a fear in my
Mhm.
head that like kept me just sitting on my mat too. Like, please don't look at me, anybody. Like,
Yeah.
but then my human body's
Yeah.
like, you're gonna piss your pants. So what's
Yep.
more embarrassing, like
Right.
crawling to the bathroom or
Pick your
peeing
poison.
yourself?
Yeah.
So I was really faced with that, but I had moved through that last time, so it's like not an issue this time. And the
Mhm.
water thing, because I had such a process and journey with water on the last one too, and not being
Yeah.
able to, well, I mean, first of all, feeling like I was absolutely going to die without water,
Yeah. Yep.
and then not being able to find water, and then finally having water and just being so appreciative to it. But I was like drinking so much of it. And like this time, I no, like I was not drinking nearly the same amount of water. It was so interesting. And last time I was like grasping onto my water bottle like it was my fucking lifeline. And this time
Mhm.
I'd like, if I needed a sip, I'd really take a sip, and it just like was not a thing. So it was very interesting kind of working through those different, what felt like last time, limitations of my body.
Mhm.
And now it felt like the beginning pieces that I needed to move through were a lot more of limitations of the mind, which I worked through some of that stuff last time, but it was a lot, I would say, louder this time. And I already kind of talked about that, like
Mhm.
mental chatter and moving that around. And like there's just a lot of resistance to the process by overthinking and over analyzing, and my brain trying to like keep me safe by trying to make sense of everything that came up instead of just being and allowing it to happen and move through me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here as always. Next week, we continue Mikayla's story about the rest of the mushroom ceremony, and we get into some really deep stuff about choosing your destiny and really cool conversations there. So definitely stay tuned for kind of the rest of this story. Please give me a follow on Instagram at interdimensional.astrophysics, Mikayla at Mariposa Moonchild, and also don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.